India today has reached a stage where the scale, quality, and execution capabilities in solar manufacturing are firmly established. We are looking forward for a 500 gigawatt overall renewable capacity by 2030 as per government's vision. And we firmly believe that we are on track to achieve the guidance by the government. If we look at the overall manufacturing and demand in India, the numbers are certainly affirmative and supportive. We are confident that we should be in a position as a country to achieve 500 gigawatt of target of renewable space. As far as manufacturing is concerned, if you look at the India's ability to show that India can stand out as a manufacturing hub for the world, the numbers truly speak that over last 4 to 5 years, if you see especially India's ability to export the equipments in both solar and wind and overall sector have been growing in terms of numbers year by year. So certainly the market seems very positive, be it domestic market, demand, and export dynamics for Indian manufacturing companies.
True. Abhishek, if you look and give us a little more idea on the kind of capacity that we would have, because in the past few years we have been struggling with capacity, and the government has been putting in ALMN, which basically restricts buying from certain manufacturers only, and as a result of which import was impacted. But then as we scaled up our capacity, that has been relaxed as well. So from a point of view of manufacturing, where are we today with respect to meeting not just a domestic demand of 500 gigawatt by 2030, but also the kind of demand that we are getting from other countries like the US or the European Union?
Sure. So if you look at the government's policy over the last couple of years, especially the ALMM one, it has ensured that the domestic manufacturing flourishes and expands overall manufacturing footprints. When ALMM 1, which was ALMM for solar panel manufacturing, was implemented last year, we have seen the skyrocketing capacities in the overall manufacturing of modules. But certainly, that is also not enough for the demand paradigm in India as well as global markets available for Indian manufacturers. Now, government has come up with ALMM 2, which is for manufacturing of cell as well in India. So from 2026, this year, manufacturing of modules and cell will be the joint true capacities for Indian markets available. So with this, we believe that capacities of cell, which roughly is around 25 gigawatts as per the ALMM recent list, should start seeing upside. However, the demand in India still looks between 40 to 50 gigawatt for the current financial year, and the expectations are this number is bound to increase, considering the government's 500 gigawatt worth of target. So we are yet to see a point wherein the domestic capacities should match up the overall manufacturing capacities as well. But certainly the tailwinds are very positive. The direction is very right.
How do you look at cost as well? Because we've seen cost of modules coming down, or cells and ingots and wafers have also come down a bit over the last few years. Do you see stable cost structures around so that it brings in better economies of scale for the Indian manufacturers as well?
Sure. So with the increase in scale and size of operations, certainly the costs are bound to cut down, and eventually the further impact of larger demand enhances. Because when you manufacture at a gigawatt scale versus you manufacture at multi-gigawatt scale, certainly the cost optimization happens. That is what we see even in Indian markets as well today. When the Indian module manufacturers and now cell manufacturers are enhancing their capacity, the cost of production is coming down, and this is definitely benefiting the end consumer. This should also go well along when the ingot and wafer capacity start coming up in India, because government has also announced ALMM 3 for manufacturing of ingots and wafers as well in India over next 2 years of time. So certainly when we go further backward integrated as an industry and especially as a company, the costs are bound to remain under control, and our ability to overall visibility on the cost dynamics strengthens with the backward integration.
If you look at the capex for the industry, and I'm talking about just three big players, which is you, Vikram Solar, and maybe Premier Energies. Between you three, you are putting in nearly 50,000 odd crores between FY26 to 28 in capex alone. Uh, what is the kind of capacity that this market can hold, and how dependent will you be for exports going forward?
So we have announced overall capex of around 26,000 odd crores over the last 1 year. And this implementation of capex should happen over next 2 years of time. So by FY 2028, you should be able to see Vari's overall ecosystem with manufacturing, which is announced going live, which will include roughly around 27 gigawatt worth of module manufacturing capacities, 15.5 gigawatt of solar cell capacities, 10 gigawatt worth of ingot and wafer capacities, 20 gigawatt worth of cell and battery pack manufacturing capacities, and a gigawatt plus worth of electrolyzer capacity. We are also manufacturing the inverters, which we have recently mentioned that 3 gigawatt is already up and live. So certainly capacities are bound to come in next 2 years of time. As far as demand dynamics are concerned, the domestic demand is certainly giving very positive signal. Against last year of around 25 gigawatt worth of installations, this year expectations is around 40 gigawatt plus. The first 9 month numbers are already giving a positive signal that India is very much on track to surpass the 40 gigawatt worth of installations. Hence, the new capacities are certainly going to help us go ahead in the ladder of manufacturing and being able to supply customers on time at a steadfast way.
One of the tailwinds which is there for India is with respect to exports, European Union and US. How big a tailwind is that? Because we have seen IRA incentives, which was introduced, now put on hold. We while others from another point of view, Indian solar manufacturing is taken seen as a alternative to the Chinese supply as well. Uh, is the opportunity there a mix of challenges and scale which is there, or especially in the US, if you can give us a perspective of what's actually happening there in the US?
So let me first take up US because US is certainly a very key market for us. If you look at the overall change in the policies in US over the last 1 years, end of the day, the outcome is that manufacturing incentives for local manufacturing in USA have been continued for next couple of years. And that's a very, very positive news for the manufacturers in US and certainly for us, because we are expanding our capacities of local manufacturing in US from 1.6 gigawatt. We today are already 2.6 gigawatt with acquisition of a gigawatt capacity this year, as well as we are adding 1.6 gigawatt additional in US. So our total capacity in US shall be around 4.2 gigawatt. So manufacturing in US certainly has a thumbs up as far as the new policies in US are concerned around the IRA and local manufacturing. Now, if you look at the European markets, even there also, the policy measure and policy push are certainly positive for Indian manufacturing as a whole, because recent enactment of net zero support from the European Union, starting from Italy, which has said that they really want alternate supply chain to come to a market like Italy and maybe eventually to overall European market as well and supply to them. So for Indian manufacturers, that definitely opportunities are expanding beyond now US to Europe and certainly towards Middle East as well, because Middle East is also coming up as a very large renewable market. If you look at the numbers are truly positive.
Um, does it require you to set up facilities in these markets aside of the US, European Union, and Middle East, or you can use India as a base to export to these markets?
So certainly, India can always be supportive in terms of the export to these markets. We have exported, in fact, to European markets in past as well as to the Middle East markets. But if you look at the recent moment, like we have announced investment in the one of the Middle East company for upstream manufacturing of polysilicon, which gives us a footprint in the Middle East market also. Plus, our US capacities are also enhancing. Like India and Oman recently announced an FTA, which certainly gives freedom for Indian manufacturers to supply to maybe to Middle East market through Oman as well without tariffs. We are also expecting some FTAs with European markets as we look at the government's recent announcements. So certainly the markets are becoming more and more larger for the Indian manufacturers. The only need is to be available in these markets where the bankability behind the manufacturing promises is something that should be able to help Indian manufacturers to grow in these markets as well.